Post-truth. Post-truth. It's everywhere. Everyone's talking about post-truth. But wait a minute. What does it mean? How are we going to define post-truth if we don't know what truth is? Who should we ask? I know. Wait a minute. Politicians. No, they're not the best people to ask about truth in particular. Okay, put those to one side. I've got a better suggestion. Post-truth. It's a term used by journalists to describe the failure of journalism, so maybe we should ask journalists what post-truth mean. Oh no, that's not going to work either. Journalists don't have such a great grasp on truth. Let's shove them across as well. If only there were people who were experts on truth, people we could rely on to tell us, the truth about truth. Who are the experts on truth? Yes, of course. You forgot about them, but they do exist. Philosophers are experts on truth. Go in search of philosophers. Let's take that David Attenborough style to their natural habitat and find some philosophers and go out. Wait a minute, I seem to be missing the most obvious thing, the thing right in front of my eyes, which, by the way, is an excellent definition of what truth is, the self-evident, the obvious. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, the apodictic. Wait a minute, gentlemen and ladies. The tautological. I'm a philosopher. It turns out I am the best person for me to ask when it comes to the question, what is post-truth? Truth. It's a big question. It's occupied Western culture for 2,500 years, and it appears that having spent 2,500 years asking and not quite answering the question, what is truth, in that sort of inimitable and charming way that philosophers have of asking questions then not really answering them, suddenly we came out of a thicket and we were in a horrible Trump-esque swamp of the post-truth. But it needn't be that complicated and it needn't be that confusing. And although it is my living to make questions complicated so that I can spend a long time answering them and I get paid for that, and that helps to feed my children who are so sweet and I don't want them to starve, I have to tell the truth about truth. The truth is very easy to define. Truth is the obvious, as I said. The self-evident. Truth is what's there in front of your eyes. Truth is what cannot be simplified. Truth is what we all intuit or imagine it to be. Truth is something tautological. The difficulty with truth is not so much saying that about it, but proving truth. Proving that it's stable and that you can rely on truth in the way that I feel that I can rely on my best friend Jeff. I don't have a best friend, Jeff. I don't have any friends, and I don't know anyone named Jeff. Well, what are facts? Because it's quite obvious that when we talk about post-truth, what we really mean is post-fact, but that just doesn't sound quite as good. A definition. We need a definition. I've got a definition. Here is my definition. Now, as many of you may know, post-truth, the only reason we're talking about it is the Oxford English Dictionary's Word of the Year. Word of the Year is an opportunity for human beings such as we are, with a vocabulary of only about 1,700 words, to increase that vocabulary to 1,701 words by learning a new word, or at least in actual fact learning the meaning of a word we all already know and we all already know the meaning of. Yes, okay. A bit stupid, but anyway, post-truth, that's the word we've been given. Here it is, I'm going to read it, like the news. Post-truth, defined by the dictionary as an adjective relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are it's a definition, less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to the emotion or personal belief. So there's the definition of post-truth. How useful is it? Not useful at all. It's totally useless. All dictionary definitions are useless when it comes to philosophical categories, not least because, as I said, that's a definition of the term post-truth, when in actual fact it means that it's a definition of the term post-fact. So what's the difference between a truth and a fact? Well, quite straightforward really. A truth is something that is obvious to everyone but cannot be proven, and a fact is something non-obvious to anyone at all that can be given forward to you and that is falsifiable. Now what does that mean? It seems to suggest that facts themselves are false. No, it doesn't suggest that, silly. Why would you assume that? Oh, because of the word falsifiable. Yeah, we've got Karl Popper, a philosopher, to blame for that term. What falsifiable means is that that fact is provable by relying on other facts, but because it's provable, that means that you could have new facts come along, hello, with a new fact, and these new facts could falsify the presuppositions that you base the first fact on. So there's a quite clear definition of the difference between truth and facts. Truths are obvious, but they cannot be proven, and therefore they cannot be factually disproven either. And facts are not obvious, but they can be proven because other facts could come along, nasty facts, and undermine those initial facts so that those facts can be disproven, and we can have a new set of facts after that. So it's not post-truth OED, silly ear sausages in tweed and deerstalker hats and smoking pipes and wishing the world was back in the 1930s and so on and so forth. No, it's not about that at all. It's actually post-fact, but they didn't choose post-fact, so I'm going to have to go with post-truth, even though I feel sordid and soiled as a professional philosopher in having to do that. It's not post-truth, it's post-facts. But what's the big deal with facts? And what's our problem with facts? Our problem with facts, I think, is what I will call the ubiquity argument. By the ubiquity argument, I think the best way to think of what ubiquity is, for example, Donald Trump at the moment when it comes to the news agenda. Donald Trump is everywhere, and the problem with facts since the rise of the internet and the development of blogging, journalism and so on and so forth is that facts are everywhere. You can't move without being covered and all over with facts. Now surely, William, that's a good thing. Facts are good. The more facts, the better. Yes, but chocolate is good. But an excess of chocolate can lead to vomiting and skin complaints and obesity. Too many facts, it turns out, are not good for the national health. Why is that? Well, it would appear to be a paradox. When facts were rare and it required experts to go and hunt them down, and it would take a long time to get those facts, and you'd have to construct a dossier, and you'd carry the dossier in like lawyers do in those big heavy bags, and you would put those dossiers down on a table. Dust would fly up, and Donald Trump would be in front of you in a room, and there'd be a man in a wig like me, because this isn't my real hair, and you would have a long conversation, and you would shuffle about in papers like in the films and say, wait a minute, I've got the fact here. The fact, you lied about Mexicans. Another fact, you lied about women. Here's another fact, you are lying about global warming. That's how it used to be. And those facts had a drama and an excitement and authority because they were rare and hard to find. So facts ubiquity means that in actual fact the currency of facts, what you can buy with facts culturally in terms of cultural capital, has been devalued, and now people are struggling to understand what are real facts, what are fake facts, what are worthwhile facts, what are non-worthwhile facts. There's just too many facts, and in a world of fact excess, in a world of fact obesity, facts have been devalued. Experts. Call the experts. Let's talk to the experts. Yes, this just in from an expert. It used to be, just a few years ago, it used to be great to be an expert, and I was doing really well because I used to sell myself as an expert. Suddenly, about 18 months ago in Britain, experts were bad. There was one point during Brexit when experts were compared to Nazi doctors. Why don't we like experts anymore? Well, again, the ubiquity argument. The internet has made experts of us all. We used to rely on our newspapers and our journalists in our newspapers. Don't be silly. Nobody reads newspapers anymore. Where do you get your news from now? Most people, 60% of people it's estimated, get their news from social media feeds. Social media is full of experts. There are a billion experts on social media. Everyone I've ever met on social media is a complete expert in their own opinion. opinions or news curation, receiving material from news feeds onto your social media platform and then just passing it on to your friends in a nice little package which is pre-designed for you by Facebook, has replaced news reading. And so we are all experts on the headlines and none of us are experts on the content. What post-truth has revealed to us is a simple law of what we philosophers call intelligibility, or sometimes we call it communicability because we like long words that end with ility, intelligibility. What is the law of intelligibility? Now please don't get angry. It's really unpleasant law. The law of intelligibility is that the meaning of a communication is not contained in the meaning of the communication. That sounds ridiculous. I appreciate that sounds ridiculous, but all great ideas do at the beginning. Look at Betamax, for example. That seemed ridiculous. And now we all have it. The idea of communicability is, yes, think about the meanings of the words that you say, but in actual fact, because meanings are contestable and depend on context and so on and so forth, that's not the real meaning, the real truth, if you like, of a fact. And here we need that difference, if you remember, between truth and fact. The real truth of a fact is, can you say that fact and be believed? Can you make that comment now when you couldn't make that comment last year? Can you say something and make something happen with the thing you said, even though the content of what you said was meaningless or a lie or untruthful or didn't have any facts? So communicability is the truth about what language does, the meaning of your making the language statement or performance. And it's very clear that a post-truth world is a world where you really actually understand truth of communication. So communicability is the truth, if you will, of the post-truth world. And it's a very useful world. It's a very important moment in our history because we finally understand that the meaning of language is not in the facts, just as the meaning of facts is not in the facts. It's not about the actual content of what you say. It's about everything around that. What allows you to be sexist today when you couldn't be sexist yesterday? What allows you to lie today and people believe you when you couldn't lie yesterday and they didn't believe you? Yeah, we live in a post-truth age, but ironically, living in a post-truth age means for the first time, maybe, in its history, the entirety of Western culture will think about truth and will be able to see truth and will be able to understand the truth of truth, which is the truth of what we call intelligibility.